agree with you, but I
he's
also think
right,
this is a
because if he were to
conversation
apologize, he'd get killed.
a little bit about the moral high ground. And I think the idea is that, like, podcasters don't have a moral high ground and they're just peddling whatever, but then there are these experts.
I don't think there's any moral high ground. I don't think there has been for a long time, because look at what happened with Trump, okay? You can...
Chris Cuomo, you should not be the one talking about moral high ground. So we're going to look at this just a little bit more, and then I want to look at some other stuff that Tim Dillon's been doing. But Tim Dillon continues to dismantle Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo is such a faker. He's such a sleaze. You know, there was one time I did feel bad for Chris Cuomo when he got fired from CNN, and then he started talking about life ending. This person is really, Chris Cuomo's, I think, more unhinged than people want to really believe. But again, Tim Dillon will destroy him. Tim Dillon will destroy Chris Cuomo. Let's go ahead and get into it. By the way, guys, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Let's get into it.
Write 3 books on how what happened to him with Russia Gate, or whatever you want to call it, was wrong. What was the first thing he did when he got in power? He went after Biden for being a Ukrainian-Russian plant. The first thing he did was go after Biden and his son, weaponizing a guy's addiction. I don't know how much you know about that world, but unfortunately...
I was an addict for many years, from when I started doing cocaine at 12 and I stopped at 25, and I never ended up in the Ukraine, and I never took a photo of everything I did and put it on a laptop,
but you know,
and then
very
dropped
well,
it off in Circuit City.
But you know very well that Hunter Biden is a typical drug-addled person. I'm not saying that he didn't do business deals.
People, very few of them ended up in the Ukraine, and I mean, their dads were the vice president.
It's not about why he wasn't in the Ukraine.
It's a unique life. Let's say that. But it's a unique life.
You would have to look at...
None of my drug addict friends ended up in Malibu selling art for $80,000.
You would have to find drug-addled people who also were wealthy with connections of people in power, right?
Okay, that's very true.
A lot of junkies don't wind up that way. My point is this. It was so wrong what was done to Trump. It was so wrong. It was so destructive that he then did the exact same thing as soon as he got in power.
Well, what do we expect? If this is the standards that we're all setting, it becomes, if this guy is attacked relentlessly for being an asset of a foreign power, and then we have the vice president's son in the Ukraine up to God only knows what, with a laptop full of pictures that
nothing came on. A laptop full of
Okay. Let me just stop right there, because this fool was about to say, Chris Cuomo was about to say nothing came out of it. Okay, but at the time, Trump didn't know anything was going to come out of it. Okay, so it was investigated. Okay, so I don't understand what the problem is here. And this excuse of, well, he's a drug addict, so it's okay. Like, dang it, going. So what's the point of law and order? Wait a minute, what's going on? Like, you can miss me with that for sure. Like, you definitely can. I don't care. You know, like, come on, tax dollars were used, all kinds of things happen. Like, so it is what it is. There's a lot more corruption happening. Nobody's talking about that. But, hey, don't give me that he's a drug addict.
Complex last Tuesday, and now is saying it's time to deploy Palantir Tech to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't, which raised a lot of speculation about how central Palantir is becoming to this administration's plans.
And I wanted you to see that because Laura Loomer is really like close to the Trump administration and Vance, but I don't want to talk too much about necessarily Vance. I have to be careful, but I want to go back to this clip where Tim Dillon is calling out what's going on and see what other people have to say about it. But this is what Tim Dillon does. I'm becoming a big fan. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's a plant. I have to think everybody's a plant, right? But in the meantime, for what I could use it for, I like Tim Dillon.
It's no shade at them or whatever, you know? The reason I don't go is I remember one dinner, they're like, we'd like to discuss the media. I go, what? No, thanks. But I've been to some of these places. I've sat in these houses in Austin with these tech people. And I know what they want, and I know what they want me to go out and cheerlead for and say, well, it's actually a great idea, and there's probably a lot of money in it. There's probably a lot of money, and I just can't do it. So my prediction, and I don't want to name names because I don't know, but my prediction is you're going to see a lot of people over the next 6 months start thinking this list's a great idea. They're going to start telling you how great this is and how it's about terrorism. That's the one that'll start going, well, it's a terror. Have you heard? Is terrorism going to...
Yeah.
As I said, he is the George Carlin of our time. I do actually think we should spend some time on this Palantir thing because I really haven't been able to dig into it. So I know you guys covered it while I was out. What exactly? So there's a contract between the Trump administration and Palantir.
Yeah.
Basically, it's to use the Palantir like connective software.
Foundry.
The Foundry to...
Which Tim Dillon said it sounds like you're getting some like fair trade coffee company.
That's true. It actually does that. As a fair trade coffee fanatic, that definitely is something that it does sound like. It's like some new age coffee shop in
But the thing is, like, he's the one calling out, like, the fact, and he's not the only one, right? Because, like, actually, I've been using that word for a long time, but obviously, like, it's not like I'm known by everybody or anything like that, which is fine, right? But at least there's somebody calling it out. I don't know how long Tim Dillon's going to be able to call it out, right? Or maybe Tim Dillon will have that, protection as being a well-known person, that if anything did happen to Tim Dillon, then people would know that, Tim Dillon, something happened because Tim Dillon was talking too much, right? Because Andrew Schultz is not having this conversation, by the way. And we know Chris Cuomo would never have this conversation about this company.
Fucking sit here. What am I going to go preach on a fucking mountain? We got to make a little money here. But make no mistake, I mean, if I'm wrong, and I'd love to be wrong, but if your attitude or your idea is that the population's going to get smarter, healthier, and more adept at problem solving, you're on fucking crack.
Oh, yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Well, what happens next? Like, do you think we ever descend into some sort of like CCP controlled world, like that kind of totalitarian government? Do you think it's possible that through technology and just through people just falling apart, getting losing their fucking minds, thinking it's the right thing to do?
I think what happens next is we'll just have, these giant oscillating swings between right and left. And then I think, eventually it'll get to a point where large areas in the country are unlivable for a myriad of reasons, perhaps crime or homelessness, climate, whatever. Very, well off or well connected people will have these kind of enclaves this is already happening. And then there'll be, a fight to be in one of those two groups, and then eventually a dictator, a strong man, somewhere down the line, some man or woman will come in and go, this system's fucked, I am going to run things, and they will run things in a way, and it probably won't be for the best, but like the system will collapse. But
I think that there are times I think that we're seeing a little bit of that starting to happen right now. I don't know. But it's funny, the question that Joe asked him about, big CCP and all, everybody always brings up China as the example. But, bro, if you really sit back and look around, you have students who were deported for writing op-eds about Ben Shapiro's favorite company. You have, again, this other company, the P company that everybody's talking about with mass surveillance, everything. We have everything put in place. The freaking military was, sent to LA in 2000. People would have been going off about this, right? Today it was just like, oh yeah, that happened on Tuesday, and like, yeah, today's Thursday. Oh, okay. So, anyway, whatever, right? Like, it's not doom and gloom. God is good, and we just always have to stay one step ahead of the situation. It's good to have people like Tim Dillon talking about it, making jokes about it. It is what it is. We still wake up to it, and people might get really frustrated one day, and they might get real angry. And, well, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.